Welcome back. It's our third video this week, and we've been doing a lot of point work recently with these thrust attacks and the deceptions and disengages. Now we're going to go back to doing some blade work with cutting attacks more. And we're going to introduce a new concept for this term, but it's something that people from last semester will be very familiar with, and that is the prise de feu. Now, prise de feu is a French term that means to seize the iron. And a prise de feu is a movement where a defender takes control of the attacker's blade in order to open a line to attack and to change the direction of the fight. So, prise de feux generally happen after a successful parry, and then the defender who has just parried makes a movement to control their partner's blade, opening a line of attack and changing the direction of the fight. And today we're going to be looking at two specific types of prises de feu, the croisé and the bind. Let's start with the croisé. So let's say I have just successfully parried 3 right here to my high outside line. A croisé looks like this. And here it is again. And I can also do a croisé from parry 4. Again, from parry 4. Just like that. All I'm doing is I am taking their attack from a high line and I am moving it to a low line. So the definition of a croisé is a movement that moves your partner's blade from a high line to a low line, or from a low line to a high line, and keeps the blade on the same side of the body. So we can do croisé down, moving from a high to a low, and we could also do croisé up, moving from a low to a high, or a croisé away, as it's sometimes called, where we're taking our opponent's blade from a low line to a high line. That's a croisé up from 2, and here's a croisé up from 7. Now we can also do croisés with expulsion, and that means we're going to give the weapon a little bit of juice and an impulse and clear the blade from our own weapon. So here is a parry 3. Notice I am weight shifted back, and here's a croisé with expulsion. And notice I'm ending now weight shifted forward. And here is parry 4, and a croisé with expulsion from parry 4. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm still moving the blade from a high line to a low line, but now I am partially extending the blade and giving it an impulse to clear it from my own weapon. Now, I am not doing this towards the ground. I am not slamming my blade into the ground. Ooh, that was probably bad for this blade. Shouldn't have done that. And I am not doing it at a 45-degree angle away. What I am doing is I am making this motion in a 15-degree line offline from my partner. So here's my partner. I am croiséing about 15 degrees away. I'm also not ending pointing at the ground. I am ending in a low line position. So my blade is on line with my partner's low line targets, right here and right here. And I'm using a weight shift to help me with that impulse to clear the blade. By doing that, I have now opened a line of attack, which will allow me to attack into that line that I have just opened. So that is a croisé with and without expulsion. Now, let's take a look at the bind. So again, imagine I have just done a successful parry 3. Here is a bind. And here's a bind from parry 4. So here's what I'm doing. I'm taking their blade and moving it from a high line to a low line, and then I am crossing it to the other side of my body. And that is the definition of a bind. It is a prise de feu that moves the opponent's blade from a high line to a low line, or a low line to a high line, and changes to the other side of the body. And what I just showed you is a special type of bind that we're going to call a bind through. All right, so now let's take a look at it in a little bit more depth. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me to pull their blade right through my body here, because that gives them an opportunity to just extend it right into my stomach. That would be very dangerous for me just to take their weapon, move it through, they extend it, boom, I'm dead. I haven't parried it. So what it is instead, it's not a defensive move, it is an offensive move. So my goal with this bind through is to cut my partner. I begin with an attacking motion, extending that blade. And I'm going to cut them right here in their low line targets. So right at the base of their pocket, base of the hips, base of the glutes, right there. I'm going to cut through there. My partner is going to see this attack coming. I have control of their blade, so they can't easily parry it right now. And so what they are going to do instead is they are going to remove the target by passing back. They pass back, removing the target, meaning I am no longer in a position to cut them. But I still have control of their blade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass forward with them, and I'm going to continue moving my blade through and clear it on the other side, opening a new line of attack for me then to attack from. So the whole thing looks like this. Parry. I start to attack. They start to move back. I pass with them, pull all the way through, and clear. And I can give it a little bit of an impulse at the end, give it some juice, and clear that, as long as I don't fling my blade away, opening myself up. I end in a low line position because I started in a high line position. I extend a cut, pull through. Now please, please do not point your blade at the ground. Do not parry and then bind through like this with the blade pointing down here at the floor. What that's doing is that's going to threaten their knees, which is not a very safe thing to do. You do not want to get whacked in the knee by an errant blade because your partner wasn't paying attention with their bind through. You want that bind through to go right through the hips, above the knees, right at the base of the hips. Now, if you are the one that is being bound through, you need to help with this. So, I have cut right here. They start to bind. I see they're attacking my hip. I pass back, and I'm going to maintain my extension as they bind. I am not going to drop my blade down here. If I do that, drop my blade, I'm going to force their blade to go right through my knees, and I do not want that to happen. So I maintain my blade up here, maintaining the connection, and then they clear it over on this side. So that is a bind through. One more time, I have attacked, they parry, and then they bind, I pass back, and they clear my blade, and I maintain that connection and keep my blade high. And it can happen on the other side as well. So here I've cut, and they have parried 4. They're now going to cut my right hip. I see it coming. I pass back, keep my blade high and connected, and then they clear it on the other side, cutting right through my hips. So those are bind throughs. Now, we may look at bind overs in another video if we have time, but for now we're just going to be focusing on croisés down and bind throughs. So let's take a look at a little bit of an exercise, shall we? Okay, so you're going to do this twice. Once doing croisés and once doing binds. We're going to start left foot forward. And you are going to be the person that is going to be doing croisés and receiving the binds. So we start. You shall attack first. You make eye contact and spot that target. They pass back. You pass forward and cut. And they parry. Now they're going to bind through. So you are going to pass back, bind, and now it's their turn to attack. So they are now going to prep an attack. They weight shift back. You pass back and parry forward. Now you will croisé with a forward expulsion and weight shift. Now you've opened a line of attack. You're going to weight shift back. It's your turn to attack. They pass back. You cut. They parry. I'm going to move forward here because I ran into the wall. They parry it. Now it's their turn to bind through. So they start to bind. You pass back. Clear the blade. It's their turn to attack now. They weight shift back. They're now going to cut to your right shoulder. You pass back, parry, and croisé to clear it. And finally, it's your turn to attack. And now we're right back where we started there. Okay? So if that's giving you a little trouble in your brain, here's how I'd like you to think about it. Every time somebody performs a pris de feu, that changes the direction of the fight. That means it's their turn to attack. So, if my partner has just performed a bind on me, then it is their turn to attack, and I can expect to parry next. If I have just performed a croisé, it is now my turn to attack, and I'm going to attack, and they can expect to parry. So let's look at that entire sequence one more time. We start right foot forward. I'm sorry, left foot forward. We're going to be attacking on our right side, left foot forward. We weight shift back, prepping a fishing line attack, and we cut. Our partner binds through. We pass back. They clear our blade. It's now their turn to attack. They weight shift. We pass back, parry. And now we are going to croisé with weight shift and expulsion. It's now our turn to attack. So we weight shift back to prep. They pass back. We cut. Now they're going to bind through. So they start to bind. We pass. They clear it. It is their turn to attack now. They weight shift as they prep. They're now attacking our front shoulder. They're always going to be attacking our front shoulder. So we pass back and counter parry 3. Croisé. It's now our turn to attack. Weight shift back, pass forward, cut, and that is the end of that sequence where we are Mr. or Ms. Bind. Croisé. We are Mr. or Mrs. Croisé. They are Mr. or Ms. Bind. Whew. So go back, practice that a few times, make sure you can get that sequence. Then let's reverse it so that now we are performing the binds and they are performing the croisés. Okay, we're going to start the same way, left foot forward. Croisé person is going to attack us first. So, they weight shift, we keep our front shoulder open, that's where they're attacking. We pass back and parry. Now we are going to bind through. Start the bind, they pass, we clear their blade. It is now our turn to attack, we're going to attack their front shoulder. We weight shift back, they start to pass back, we pass forward and cut, and they parry. They are now going to croisé with expulsion. We're going to allow them to do so by releasing our big muscles here in our shoulder and allow them to clear our blade with our entire arm. Our elbow, our shoulder, our wrist, everything is going to allow them to clear it. Now it is their turn to attack. They're going to attack our front shoulder. They weight shift back, we weight shift forward. We pass back, counter parry 3, and we will bind through. We extend, they pass back, bind through. Now it's our turn. Weight shift, they pass back, cut, we are parried, they croisé, and now we're back where we started with them getting ready to attack us. Okay, let's do that sequence one more time. So you're going to do these two sequences, one in which you perform croisés and one in which you perform binds. So let's take a look one more time. Left foot forward, they attack first. They're attacking our front shoulder. Weight shift, we pass back, parry 4. Now, we are going to bind through. Extend, they pass back, we bind through, clear their blade. Now it's our turn to attack. Weight shift, spot the target, which is their front shoulder. They pass back, we pass forward, cut, we are parried. They croisé with expulsion. We weight shift back and allow ourselves to be expelled. Now, it is their turn, they're going to attack. Weight shift as they prep, they're attacking our front shoulder. We pass back, counter parry 3. Now we bind again, extend, and bind through. Now it's our turn to attack. Weight shift as we prep, pass forward, cut, and they croisé. And now we're back where we started with them getting ready to attack us. If you want to do that last move, you can, but otherwise, that's good enough for that exercise. Okay, this one's a tricky one. You're probably going to need to practice it just to get that sequence down. But just keep remembering, the person that just performed a pris de fer is the person who will be attacking next, and you are always attacking the front shoulder. Best wishes.